My project is on the effect that a concussion has on the brain and on concussion prevention. A concussion is an injury to the brain caused by a direct hit or blow. Concussions are treated very seriously when they occur because of the long-term impact that can happen. Concussions typically happen in contact sports like football and hockey, but can also occur in any non-contact sport. The NFL has started to make adjustments like fining players for dropping their head on a defenseless player. Concussions are growing in knowledge and will progress in the next 10 years. How long have you been with the athletic program at Walker?
I have been an athletic trainer for the Walker School this is my 11th year.
And what is a concussion?
A concussion is a brain injury that's caused by a blow to the head or any other type of blow that can cause your brain to shake around.
And what typically causes a concussion?
Usually a blow to the head or a hit to the jaw or a fall that can send forces up to the spine and up to the brain.
What's the first thing you do when someone has symptoms of a concussion?
Well, the first thing, is to number one, just ask questions. Find out if they have any memory loss, if they lost consciousness after the blow. The next thing is to basically monitor them. You have to watch and monitor, and if they're not getting better, if their symptoms aren't dissipating, then we have to send them to the emergency room or call the doctor.
And what do you think are ways to prevent concussions from happening?
I think most importantly is to make sure that the equipment that is supposed to be there to protect the brain is fitted properly. So helmets for football, hockey, making sure that they fit properly, making sure that mouth guards are in because they're really important in preventing concussions as well. So making sure equipment is fitted and in there. The other thing is technique. Whatever sport you're playing, making sure that you're doing the moves in the right way. So tackling techniques, learning them and learning them properly are really important.
And how does the impact testing system work?
Impact test is a neurocognitive test done on the computer, and basically what it does is it tests baseline or tests before a person gets injured, tests things like reaction time, speed, memory, active memory, and then when somebody gets a head injury, you have to get them back on the computer to take the same test, and then we can kind of compare scores, and that lets us know when some of those things, as far as their neurocognitive ability, are back to normal or what their normal is.
Alright, and do you know any kind of long-term effect concussions have on the brain?
I know that it does. There have been studies, and I guess within the last 8 to 7 years, or maybe 6 to 8 years, there have been more and more research done on the long-term effects. Mild traumatic brain injuries and TBIs are what they're called. And when I was in grad, my first year, so this was in '99, there were studies, and we were talking about doing it on soccer players just from heading, repetitive heading. So that was back then. Now I'm sure they've gotten a lot more research out there about the effects long term, but I know there are some.
Is there a certain amount of concussion? Is there a certain amount of times that concussion can happen on the brain?
Say that again?
Is there like a certain amount of concussions that in a year that you have to, before you had to like stop playing sport?
The doctors are always the ones that make that call. So it used to be like 3 period, and then you're done. So if you had 3 in 5 years, after that third one, you shouldn't play contact sports. And I'm pretty sure it's true today, but I wouldn't be the one to make that call. That child would have to go to a neurologist, and the doctors would look at their history and tests and everything else and decide whether or not they could play.
And on average, how long do you think it takes to be completely healed?
Everybody is different. That's the answer. It's so gray these days. It can take a child a week to feel normal, quote unquote normal. It could take an athlete 6 months. It just all depends. The most important thing, though, which would minimize your time in healing, is to make sure that you don't go back until all the symptoms are gone, so you don't get what's called second impact syndrome. So, if you do have that, you're going to be out for a while, and we've seen cases like that around. So, yeah, it just varies,